The Book of Mormon contains sophisticated examples of textual interconnections that point to its origin as a translation of a pre-existing text. As explored in this analysis, Moroni's strategic interweaving of farewells from Nephi and Mormon, in his own attempts to finish the book, suggests an intricate, unified narrative rather than haphazard 19th-century fiction. A key to understanding what follows is that the internal chronology of the Book of Mormon and the production chronology are not the same. The first book translated in the extant Book of Mormon was Mosiah, and the last book translated is the Words of Mormon. Within the internal chronology of the text, 1st Nephi is the oldest book of the extant Book of Mormon and Moroni is the newest book, with Nephi and Moroni being separated by 1,000 years. Moroni made 3 attempts at concluding the Book of Mormon, Mormon chapter 9, Ether chapter 12 and Moroni chapter 10. In each attempt, he did this by braiding, as it were, the words of the record's first and last authors, Nephi and Mormon. The allusions and borrowings used by Moroni in Mormon 9 are not random, but rather deliberate patterns that reference the final writings of Nephi and Mormon. Specifically, the phrases from Nephi come mainly from his prophecies about the latter days in 2 Nephi 25-28, while the phrases from Mormon derive from his late writings in 3 Nephi 29-30, Mormon 5, and Moroni 7. This suggests Moroni is carefully constructing his conclusion by extracting and weaving together phrases from these climactic texts, which were written by his predecessors. Similarly, Ether 12 and 2 Nephi 33 share not only themes, but also several common phrases and a parallel structure. Nephi frames his concluding remarks between comments about his words being made strong, and Moroni appears to adapt this model to broaden the Lord's promise so that all weaknesses can be overcome through faith in Christ. This discussion of faith, hope and charity also alludes to Mormon's sermon in Moroni 7, creating an intertextual link. In his final section, Moroni again interweaves allusions to both Nephi and Mormon, the first and last writers of the record. Within the Book of Mormon's internal chronology, Moroni is quoting from documents in his possession. But since Ether was dictated to a scribe before both Moroni 9 or 2 Nephi 33, skeptics have to imagine Joseph Smith creating a narrator who makes very specific allusions to interrelated texts which hadn't been written yet, while burying his face into the darkness of a hat. Finally, Moroni concludes the Book of Mormon with quick allusions to the farewell comments of previous writers, especially from the small plates. This creates a verbal curtain call echoing their voices one last time. His elusive skill forges connections between beginning and end while emphasizing the shared purpose of all contributors. Ultimately, Moroni's repeated efforts to seal up the record reveal an editor profoundly familiar with the full arc of the text. His intricate braiding together of predecessor sermons forges connections across dispensations. The deliberate way he adapts and incorporates climactic passages from Nephi and Mormon speaks not of haphazard borrowing but of narrative purpose. This elusive technique, evidencing the book's internal chronology as history, argues powerfully for the Book of Mormon's authenticity. Rather than some stream of thought 19th-century invention, Moroni's masterful interweaving of voices binds the beginning to the end. For more detailed information regarding this video's content, read Chapter 9 of Understanding the Book of Mormon, A Reader's Guide, by Grant Hardy.